but like, how are you going to get your TCG off the ground if people can't play? They can't get into it.
No, yeah, I completely agree with that. I as far as the TCG goes, like it needed to be overprinted for sure. Like I think the demand was clearly there. I think.
All right, everyone, welcome to the 2023 Maindeck TCG Awards. This is the first time we're doing this, and we are just excited to present some of these awards to you guys and talk about our choices for them. We're going to talk about our picks for each category, as well as the community's voice. We put out the poll on YouTube, on our Discord, on Facebook, on Twitter. Put out the poll everywhere just to get as many answers as we could. Of course, our community is very slanted towards particular games, so our community answered in ways that I kind of expected, but I'm excited just to talk about some of our choices for you all as we get into these things. So this is the first year we're going to do this, and I'm looking forward to kind of expanding this in the future, and I hope you guys just find this mildly interesting. So we have 7 categories, and the first one we're going to start with is the best TCG product release of 2023. I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to go around the table and have everyone say what they thought the best single. So this would be a single release, decks, booster packs, whatever, box set for any TCG. And I'm going to start with Jason on this one. Jason, what do you think was the best TCG product release of 2023?
So for me, I actually have one that's not on this list. I would say the One Piece 3-Captain Starter Deck is my favorite new product that came out this year. Is just an excellent barrier of entry to a pretty cool card game with a lot of flashy stuff and a really cool deck box. I just thought it was really nicely priced and really accessible for new players. So it's a great way to get people into a game.
I think it's a great pick. Yeah, like we mentioned in the Patreon podcast section, One Piece is doing killer. And I think, yeah, it's a great product, really cool, and a good way just to jump into the game. Bandai does well with those products. Taylor, what do you think the best TCG product release of 2023 was?
The best TCG product release of 2023 was clearly Grand Archive, the first set, Dawn of Ashes. It was just spectacular, excellent Kickstarter launch. They stuck the landing incredibly well. Like that would have been a 10 out of 10 at the Olympic Gymnastics, and yeah, it's only gone upwards from there. So just excellent start to the game.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, we all love Grand Archive here, so it's hard to argue with it. Jordan, what's your choice?
Before I just say my choice, I also got to say, I half expected Taylor to say something like Austin Powers TCG.
I'm so glad he's being serious and not trolling right now.
But I would have to agree with Taylor. Definitely Grand Archive, Dawn of Ashes. For lack of better words to describe it, to date, it is the most I've ever spent in one sitting on a card game. And the release went so well, and I had such a good reception of the game as a whole that even though it is the most to date that I've ever spent, I regret not backing at a higher tier, which is saying a lot because I spent a pretty penny on the tier that I bought. So it's got to be pretty good to make me be like, yeah, I should have spent double what I spent on it, a little more. So yeah, definitely Dawn of Ashes. It hit all the cylinders. It was firing off on all things. It was fun to open, a little wacky. I know some people kind of got the shaft, but I got a nice medium. Having oops all uncommons in a booster box was an interesting experience I've never had.
I remember that.
Getting the CSR that I wanted to get also, or one of them, was also pretty swag. So,
yeah, that must have been nice.
I also got 4 Tide Diviners. Actually, I think I got like 7 of them.
Yeah, wow, that was a rare card for me.
This is now the Dunking on Dan Awards.
However, I only got 1 Zephyr, just a regular rare.
Yeah, the rares were really wild in the first edition packs. So I'm going to go ahead and say, it's kind of just to be a little different. I obviously really like Grand Archive. I think it's wonderful. I think that One Piece deck is an excellent choice. I'm going to say, and I'll explain why. I'm going to say it's Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, the Magic release. I think it's hard to, as much, I know Wizards has, we'll talk about Wizards a little later, but it's hard to deny that taking a non-Magic IP and making it successful in Magic to the point where I think it really turned a lot of people on to the concept of Universes Beyond, is already the hallmark of a successful release for this product. But the set itself, they knocked out of the park. 10 out of 10 on basically everything. Gameplay wise, it's an incredible set. The limited was really fun. The ring bearer thing was really fun and limited. Really enjoyed that. It has a bunch of very playable cards in formats that, I mean, maybe format warping in some ways, but I mean, honestly, if you don't want new sets to change your formats, then I don't know what you're looking for. It released super flavorful cards and tons and tons and tons and tons of versions of them. There are so many versions of Gandalf, of Aragorn, of Galadriel, there's only one Tom Bombadil, but I mean, we only needed one Tom Bombadil. It basically, if you are a Lord of the Rings fan or a Magic fan, there was something for you in the set. If you're a Commander fan or a player of other formats or limited fan, I feel like it just delivered on all cylinders and had crazy cool things like the 1-of-1 ring, and then the other serialized soul rings that you could get, all thematically tied together. Like, I just feel like they printed a lot of it, but they sold a lot of it because it was an extremely popular set. It's really hard for me, I think, not to pick it as the best TCG product release of the year. Right. Let's talk about where a community picked. So we'll just go through the top 3 choices. I think we'll just do the top 3 for each one. The top 3 in our community were Grand Archive Dawn of Ashes, which obviously agrees with Taylor and Jordan on this one. Followed by the Flesh and Blood Round the Table decks, which is another excellent choice, a product that introduces easier entry point for a lot of players, more casual Flesh and Blood play, which is, I think, a really great thing to do. And of course, has that awesome Professor collab as well, which is certainly exciting. And then the third choice was the Yu-Gi-Oh! 25th Anniversary Rarity Collection, which is a cool product release that had a lot of, different than the 25th Anniversary booster boxes. It is a set that just had cool new rarity reprints of classic cards across Yu-Gi-Oh's history, good metagame cards, good old cards, just good stuff. Popular set as well. So I think if we aggregate everything, the general main deck choice, the award for the best TCG product release of 2023 would have to go to Grand Archive Dawn of Ashes.
Good job. You did it.
Everyone claps. Yay! Congratulations, Grand Archive Dawn of Ashes. You have the illustrious first ever Best TCG Product Release of 2023 award. You can now put that on your box. I'll send them over a little. Actually, I think I will. I'm going to make a little award graph and send it to them and see if they want to put it on.
Yes, please.
Let's do it. Might as well. Let's pretend we're bigger than we are. Okay, moving on to another illustrious award. What was the worst TCG product release of 2023? And for this one, I'll start with the number one Richard Garfield hater. I don't know if that'll come up here, but as we mentioned earlier in the Patreon podcast, Jordan, what do you think was the worst TCG product release of 2023?
All right, so I'm gonna pick something that actually is in like the space of TCGs that I play, rather than pick something like MetaZoo or something that I know was bad, or like Battle Spirit Saga. I wasn't really in that realm, but I saw the disaster that was below MSRP $20 boxes. But I'm gonna pick something that more so affects me, and I'm gonna go with a polarizing hot take of Jetburn for Universes.
Oh, okay.
As Dan said, me and my wife were playing the game, and we did not like a lot of the UI changes. Like you said, there were a few in there that I definitely see why, but there was a lot more changes that really just felt like it was the new people when they stepped into the space being like, we have to change something to show people we're in charge. Because some of the choices they made were just like, why would you do that? This doesn't solve an issue. This doesn't make the card look better. And just like I said, the main thing is just it deflated. I mean, not just the UI choices, but the game as a whole just deflated my excitement so much. I went from this is my top game to I have had a box of cards behind me in the corner for like almost a full month and a half now that I have just had no reason or want to open, which has never happened. There's games that I'm lukewarm on that I'm still like, I just want to see what I opened up. Like the random packs we get at like Gen Con at the eBay, or like the One Piece packs that I got for demoing the game with Jason. Like I even opened those, even though I had no intention of playing it. But this was a game that I loved, and it was polarizing enough. Again, not just the release itself, but like everything surrounding it, like was so polarizing to me that I haven't even opened them. They've just been chilling there, and I've had no desire to. So that'll be my choice.
That's and a fun choice too, because that got several votes for the best TCG release of the year as well, just highlighting the polarizing nature of it. Taylor, what is your choice?
Yeah, I gotta say it's any of the Battle Spirits releases, and I'll say the first set just because it really set the tone for the whole game.
Okay.
That it was I wasn't really going to get into it too much in general. Battle Spirits wasn't going to be like my top game ever, but it was definitely a game that looked really interesting to me. The game mechanics are really cool. They're very novel. They're very unique. But I mean, it's just completely been mishandled throughout the whole release cycle. The availability of product was really weird. Just MSRP or box values tanking as soon as it launched. Like it's been rough, which is just the most disappointing thing because it should have been a really, really cool set. Like it should have really just sparked like this neat game. I think it just really fell on its face. And you've got Avril Lavigne advertising it, so like, how does this not blow up?
Come on, it should have been obvious.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Battle Spirits, I think a lot of the Battle Spirits players will point to False Gods as the worst set of the two that released. Set 3 was markedly better, I think. But it's yeah, I totally understand your take on that one as well. Jason, what do you think was the worst product release of 2023?
For me, it's definitely Lorcana set 1. For them to have a game that was people were so excited and ready to get their hands on, and it became near impossible to get for a lot of people. A lot of people locally only had starter decks for an extended period of time, which definitely didn't feel great. And it kind of enabled some of the predatory practices people do in the secondary market in TCGs, which really makes it to where it doesn't necessarily want to grow your player base when they have to spend hundreds of dollars, and you have kind of it exposed that game stores were willing to do what they needed to do, whether good or bad. You had your store selling at MSRP, and you had stores selling product at over $300. To me, that is not indicative of a card game I would want to play or introduce people to playing. So I definitely think Lorcana for me, and the limited availability for the first run of product for a good extended period of time definitely was the worst release for me.
That's understandable. I'm going to go ahead and I promise I'm not going to pick Magic for everything here, but I have to give my worst product release to Magic the Gathering March of the Machines Aftermath. Which, I guess for every Lord of the Rings, they're going to have an aftermath. This was I guess props to them for trying something different, but what a strange product to release with a very, very small pool of cards, a small pool of playable, interesting cards, even among those, in a weird small pack format that just didn't feel like it ever really made its claim to why it needed to exist. It just kind of was there as another thing to buy, for stores to have to buy and for players to maybe waste money on or something. It's a very, very strange product. I don't understand it. And I believe Wizards has also said, yeah, we know, we tried, and we're probably not going to revisit that one again. And also, it's the product that has the whole Pinkerton fiasco associated with it as well, which certainly doesn't help its reputation either. So my choice would go to March of the Machines Aftermath for that reason. Looking at our community, the top 3 choices were, I guess let's go backwards. I should go backwards. It's probably better for that, right? Number 3 was March of the Machines Aftermath. Way to go, community. Voting for a pretty terrible product. Number 2 was MetaZoo, Kuromi's Cryptid Carnival box set. People are unfamiliar with this one. MetaZoo did a Sanrio collaboration in which they announced an extremely limited box set product where you could get cool Kuromi MetaZoo cards that apparently never really sold. very many because a few weeks after release, they made a big announcement of how they're now half price on TCG Player, officially sold, down from $300 to $150 each. And I bet they haven't sold too many since then either, unfortunately. um, a product of expecting way too much demand for your collaboration end game, I think, than actually was there, makes it an easy number 2 choice. And then number 1 was a Battle Spirit Saga False Gods, which really highlighted the problems with Battle Spirit Saga's overprinting and overproduction and overselling, early selling of the product to stores where they had way too much. And set 2 just wasn't a very good set. It kind of sucked. So they introduced green, and green wasn't very good. So yeah, there you go. That's False Gods. So given that Taylor picked Battle Spirit Saga and it's number 1 on the list, and I had the next closest community choice with the number 3, I think we'll give the award for the worst TCG product released of 2023 to Battle Spirit Saga False Gods. So congratulations, Bandai! Yay! All right. Our next award is going to go to what is the best new TCG in 2023? So a TCG that released newly in 2023. This one should be kind of quick given our wonderful hosts here. Taylor, why don't you start off this one?
My favorite TCG released here was definitely going to be Alpha. No, I'm sorry, I'm kidding. It was Grand Archive, obviously. What else could it be?
And why is that?
It's a great game. It's completely just a sweet, unique game full of awesome mechanics. It's a lot of fun. The dev team behind it's very, doing a great job, not just designing the game, but also getting the word out and marketing and all the other kind of like cool organized play and just LGS organization that goes into a TCG. They just like they've done so many things correct, and the mistakes they've made, they've learned from. Like it's just they're firing on all cylinders here.
Okay, Jason.
It's Grand Archive, and it's for pretty much everything that's already been said. In addition to, I really think that for a game that came off of Kickstarter, they've really committed to what they're trying to do and haven't strayed from what their message has been for the game and their vision of the game. And their adaptability to what the community wants has been fantastic, and they're just really knocking it out of the park.
And Jordan.
If you couldn't guess, it's Grand Archive TCG. Like Jason said, for the already previously listed reasons, they're just kind of killing it in pretty much almost all the departments, and they seem to be having a strong plan for what to do next that I've been agreeing with. Every time they reveal what they're doing next, it's met with excitement, and like I see why they're doing that. Their communication is strong with everything that they're doing. They're doing novel new things in addition to their mechanics, and like their resource mechanic being novel. Even some stuff like Proxia's Vault is something I haven't seen in other things that is a great idea that will help fix, a stale meta mid-season, if you will, and create just new ways to play the game and branch out with new decks that just needed that little bit of extra edge to kind of sprout and become something great. So they're just really killing it.
And I know we're all Grand Archive fans here, so of course my choice also is Grand Archive TCG. Among all the options, it's the game that I think is the most solid. And as everyone said, they're doing innovative things. It's a small company that came off of Kickstarter, but they've done better than every other Kickstarter TCG at actually becoming a regular TCG, transitioning from the Kickstarter model to a retail model through a distributor network with organized play, cash organized play, high level competitive play. I think one of the biggest issues they have is just like establishing a casual player base. But that's a struggle for a lot of TCGs, and it's one that I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to be up to tackling that challenge as well, and I'm excited, super excited to watch how they grow in 2024. There are some other big TCGs that came out this year. I like TCGs. I like Grand Archive better than those ones. And I believe in the team quite a bit, so I cannot wait to see what else is to come for that game. Turning it to the community was split for number 3. Their third place was split between Battle Spirits Saga and Shadowverse Evolve, 2 other anime TCGs that came out in the same year. And they are both trucking along. Battle Spirit Saga. I think Bandai's quite committed to making Battle Spirit Saga work, despite their rough first couple of sets and launch and everything. I think they're quite committed to making it work. And I think Bushy Road and Cygames are doing a commendable job with Shadowverse Evolve as well. I think if you like anime themed TCGs, they're all reasonable options to play. If you got a local play group for any of them, you should definitely look at them. They're all solid games. Number 2, Disney Lorcana. Of course, Lorcana has plenty of fans out there. So your Lorcana is the game where I think you're safe getting into it at any point. It's going to go on for as long as Ravensburger and Disney want to produce it. It's notably introducing TCGs to a new market of people who maybe haven't necessarily found them before, because it's an IP that isn't as weeby as literally Weebs of the Shores Grand Archive TCG or some of the other ones. So excellent job, Disney Lorcana, scoring second place, and our community, you can guess, skewed also towards Grand Archive TCG as the best TCG of the year with a pretty hefty margin on our voting. So with that said, our easy choice for best new TCG in 2023 goes to Grand Archive TCG. Congratulations. Maybe I'm going to put in an applause track.
There you go.
All right. And the next award is going to go to, this is a fun one. What was the biggest TCG blunder of 2023? TCG company remarkably screwing up. I'm going to start with Jason on this one. Jason, what do you think was the biggest TCG blunder of 2023?
So you can point to so many of these things on the list and be like, yep, that certainly is it. But I'll venture to something that's not on the list. So One Piece's 3-week ban list that they came out with, and
Yes.
they banned a bunch of red cards that were evidently and obviously very powerful, only to roll it back 3 weeks later based on the meta that's going on in Japan and those cards not being relevant anymore. Which really kind of shook the player base a little bit, not because it was a bad thing, more or less, but it was bizarre and handled very poorly. It doesn't, when you have that crystal ball of where your metagame is headed, and especially with product releases, like most of the Japanese style card games that are ahead of us, Pokemon, etc., for them to do something, it would have made sense if it was for 3 or 4 months, but for really about 3-4 weeks was bizarre, and it kind of shook some of the player base's confidence in what Bandai's doing with the game. They rebounded really well, but for me, that is definitely a large blunder.
It's tough when they have such a successful game to watch them fumble with something like that. So that totally makes sense. Jordan, what was your choice for the biggest TCG blunder of 2023?
The biggest TCG blunder, I would probably have to say, is the lack of a new Austin Powers release.
Great
choice. Great choice.
End video. Thank you guys so much for watching.
I would, even though I just kind of found out about it, I'd probably say the Pinkerton situation, because that just is a bizarre way to handle it, B, terrible PR, and C, does not set a nice precedent for something that basically, was Wizards' fault, to be fair. They sent product super early to people that apparently were, and who knows, maybe it was just a kid who was new that day or something, like managing it, but like, it wasn't the person who received the product fault. You shouldn't come after them. And if you are going to come after them, like you said, get more bees with honey. You should have just been like, hey, we're sorry this happened. We'll give you, this instead if you just send it back, and please don't do it. But instead they're like, we're going to come after you and waterboard you or something.
Whoa.
If you don't listen to our demands.
Let's create a whole new story for what actually happened.
No. I didn't say the waterboarding thing, but like, that's just something that I imagine is in Pinkerton's like back pocket of how they get what they want.
All right. Yeah.
I would probably say that would be my vote.
That's hard to argue with that one. Taylor, what's your pick?
I'm going to say it's just Bandai overcommitting itself to too many card games. It's you've got a lot of overlapping fans for a lot of these card games because they're all kind of like either notable like anime IPs that are very popular, or they're kind of novel things that Bandai's trying to push on their own. But they're all kind of like everybody who plays all these games would probably like a lot of these other games as well. So you're just kind of like you're cannibalizing your own player base. You're not able to give the attention each game needs to kind of its own thing. I imagine that's how some of these like weird ban list decisions come into play. And then also it's just saturating the market so much. There's just so much Bandai product out there that it's hard to keep track of.
Yeah, and in some way, just waiting for them to cannibalize their own market if they haven't already. I'm sure they have for some of their games too. So it's an interesting decision, but maybe if they can develop enough of a market, maybe it'll work out. But I can totally understand that being a choice for a major blunder. For my choice, I'm going to agree with Jordan on this one. I think WotC's choice to send the Pinkertons in was certainly a choice that was made, and I can't imagine a situation that I would have done so much more differently than how they handled it. That it's hard for me not to think that was now the thing about Magic is it hardly stumbled from that, but it's the kind of PR move that is going to stick around as a meme for years and years and years now. And it's like you said, it's not a good look. I don't like that too much. It's not killing Magic by any stretch, but yeah, I don't like it. So that's going to be my choice. Now let's look at what the community said. Their number 3 choice was Lorcana underprinting the first chapter by a lot, which is a fairly understandable choice that should have been kind of a shoe-in to build local communities with all sorts of new players. And it simply couldn't happen because there wasn't enough product floating around for people to get. It is now finally under MSRP, but they're now just hoping it wasn't too little too late. And we'll see how things develop as things move on through 2024. Number 2 choice was WotC sending the Pinkertons in right along with a couple of us in not understanding the decision-making process there. And number 1 was another Hasbro firing Magic the Gathering staff despite success in the year, which
Before
we talked
Christmas.
about a lot. Go ahead.
Right before Christmas.
Before Christmas, right before the holidays, which we talked a lot more about in the Patreon podcast, but very briefly. They had over leveraged and were losing money, mostly Hasbro. WotC's doing okay, but they had to cut jobs across the board, and a lot of long-term, very, very passionate WotC staff got fired right before Christmas from jobs that they absolutely loved, and at no fault of their own, which definitely sucked also. So several not good looks from Wizards of the Coast this year. But given that we had 2 of our hosts voting for it, and it was number 2 from our community, we have to give the award for the biggest TCG blunder of the year to WotC sending in the Pinkertons for the March of the Machine Aftermath booster box. How about...
Boo.
Boo. Oh, yeah.
Boo.
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 Or
That's
yay,
garbage.
or something. Moving on to what was the biggest TCG surprise of 2023? The thing that caught you off guard the most. We're going to start with Taylor on this one. Taylor, what do you think?
All right. The biggest surprise for me was that a new card game was announced. It was announced it's going to be digital only, or not digital only, excuse me. All the cards you own will be owned digitally, and that it has nothing to do with NFTs.
Yeah.
Altered came out of the gate. They said, "Hey, we're gonna do digital ownership for all of our stuff. It's actually not NFT based, and we're creating like a really cool new peer-to-peer market system for you to transact your cards with, and then also we're creating a system for you to print to demand the cards you own digitally, but maybe did not ever receive physically." It was mind blowing to say the least when I first heard about it. So that by far is the biggest surprise for me.
Makes sense. Jordan, what do you think?
Following suit with Taylor, going into that faded boardroom, I guess you could call it, meeting to learn about Altered Card Game. Going into it thinking it was just going to be a run of the mill card game making jokes that it's going to alter our perception of card games. And then they proceeded to literally do that slide after slide after slide after slide. Was just, I've never left a meeting so like mind blown in my life, where I was just like, this is crazy. People need to know about this. This is going to be so cool. So I definitely have to go with the altered information bomb that was dropped on our lap at Gen Con.
Awesome. And Jason?
It has to be, for me, that Bandai chose to not make things so complicated by having Avril Lavigne be a spokesperson for Battle Spirit Saga. What the hell was that? I'm just going to have to say that. When that got shared, I distinctly remember what I was doing. I was at work, and I'm probably not focused on my job as I should be, probably doing something I shouldn't be doing on Discord. And that Twitter post got sent, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought it was like an AI thing. I was like, "Oh, this is really no." As it was not. I still don't get it. I still don't understand it. But it was that shocking that it's like, how does this correlate to wanting to play, like to get new people into the card game? They're just gonna be probably as confused as we all were. So as far as a surprise, that definitely took me off guard.
Yeah, that certainly was my favorite ad campaign of 2023. If that were on the vote, it'd be easy choice. I'm going to agree, because thinking about it, I have not been as, not agree with Jason. Sorry. I'm going to agree with Jordan and Taylor. I have not been as mind blown as I was learning about Altered TCG for the first time, which is why we immediately started pushing out content for it, because it certainly is a remarkable situation they're going for. And as Taylor said, the best way to put it is, in 2023, you're announcing a game that uses digital and physical integration, and you're deliberately choosing not to use blockchain. First of all, props. And second, that's crazy. That's wild. Like, that's just cool to see. That's awesome. And what they have is a very robust plan that we're very excited about. And I'm definitely looking forward to the Kickstarter and how it moves forward, how it releases in 2024. So very exciting to see. Certainly a wild concept and very surprising, without a doubt. Let's see what our community says. The number 3 choice is going to be Grand Archive allowing players to redeem set 2 for promos to prop up the value of set 2. One of Weaves of the Shore's very innovative strategies that they've employed throughout the year was having made a few mistakes in the production of set 2 and the collation of everything. Set 2 was seeing a dip in value, so they propped it up. They said, you know what? Give us your cards. Give us your set 2 playsets. You'll get exclusive promos. We'll hold them until set 2 is rare and valuable, and then we'll release them at tournaments as additional prizing to prop up those events later on, as well as prop up the value of the product right now. Very smart, very interesting. It seems to have worked pretty well. And certainly a surprising announcement to see. Number 2 was Fantasy Flight Games announcing another Star Wars TCG, which they had just, 3 years ago had canned Destiny, and shortly before that, the Star Wars LCG. And they have the Star Wars deck building game out and stuff now. None of those are TCGs. Destiny is TCG, but I thought this wasn't as surprising to me necessarily, I guess, as just because I know Fantasy Flight has the IP, but it was exciting for me. So I was excited to see that, but certainly is something where if you expected them to never touch TCGs again, it would be fairly surprising to see. If you expected them to touch TCGs again, they've got the Star Wars IP, so I think they're going to. Understandable though. And number 1 was Grand Archive's Proxius Vault announcement. The announcement that you could actually proxy cards and play them in tournaments in Grand Archive, a very particular set of cards, and only for a year, until they get real ones out there. But it's a cool initiative to help adjust the metagame, and an understandable choice as well. So given that 3 of our 4 hosts agreed on Altered, I think that is going to be our choice for the biggest TCG surprise of 2023. Congratulations to Equinox and Altered TCG for surprising us so much. Congratulations. All right, our second to last one, penultimate, is going to be which TCG might not make it through 2024? Let's start with Jason. Jason, which TCG do you think we might not be even talking about anymore at the award ceremony next year? Which one won't make it?
There's so many viable choices, unfortunately. I don't like to think about it that way, but there's so many choices. Like, yep, I could see that, and I think it's Akora is definitely not long for this world. It's got a very niche market that's already struggling to sell cards on a secondary market and to primary LGSs, and there's no real allure to getting into the game. So I definitely see it not making it to 2024 or through 2024.
Yep, I can agree with that. Taylor, what do you think?
Let me just get my 20-sided die out here.
There you go. Yeah. Where's your dartboard?
I was going to say Battle Spirit Saga. I think you've done some convincing of me that Bandai is going to try and make it succeed. Like, despite the stumbles they've had, the very large stumbles they've had out of the gate, which would be actually really cool to see. I think it's probably one of their better card games. So instead, I'm going to say Akora as well. I've seen nothing of it anywhere outside of like your tier list and also Jason's local game store. Apparently, like it's just there's no noise for it. Nothing. Like it's probably not long for this world, unfortunately.
And Jordan,
parroting the other two gentlemen here, most likely Akora. Some of the other games that I was maybe going to choose, like Nostalgics, Force of Will, MetaZoo, they at least have some semblance of people who have some sunk cost fallacy that might be able to keep it on life support. But Akora doesn't seem to have that player base, and I didn't even know it existed until we filmed this podcast and we filmed the tier list. And I've never seen it anywhere. I haven't seen ads of it I literally just it popped into my head when I watched that video, forgot it immediately, and then when we talked about it here, I was like, that is a thing that exists somewhere. So I don't think it's long for here. It's gonna unfortunately join the graveyard.
All right. And very understandable. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to say Gate Ruler TCG. And the reason I'm saying Gate Ruler is because they had what I consider one of the ultimate death knells in your TCG this year. They had an announcement that a planned product release, some starter decks that were coming out in 2023, were now releasing as digital print and play documents only. So you would have to print them out, and they were legal for play in your tournaments. They're unlike Proxy's Vault. It wasn't an intended proxy situation. It was a, hey, surprise everyone. Now you can just print these off instead of having to pay us to make them. And they did say that in next year's full set, they would have some printed versions that you would be able to acquire, meaning that there was not sufficient demand to print starter decks for your game that year. And they weren't able to print them until they had a big enough print run with some other booster set to actually fit them in. And I don't think the game's making it past that booster set, if that one even releases, given that. So unlike some of the other ones, I will say that like with these Kickstarter TCGs, it's tough to tell when they're going to give up. Mm-hmm. It feels to me pretty obvious when Gate Ruler is going to be giving up here, which is too bad because I know the designer is very passionate. He's worked very hard to try and get his game into the West and everything, but passion doesn't pay the bills, unfortunately. And I would say that Gate Ruler is least likely to exist here at the award ceremony next year. Our community says, number 3, they agree with everyone on Akora TCG. Number 2, they have MetaZoo, which it could happen. I'm not going to lie. It could happen. They're very over-leveraged right now, and they don't have a very strong player base, so we'll have to see if they can find a way to pick that back up. I know they're refocusing on locals, but we'll see. And number 1, our community really hates Battle Spirit Saga. So I agree that with what Bobo was saying earlier, I don't think that that Battle Spirits is going to be given up on quite yet. I think they're going to keep pushing and try and recapture an audience. So I don't think that's quite the choice. And given that Akora was in the top 3, I think we're going to give the award for the TCG that might not make it through 2024 to Akora TCG. Yeah, this is kind of a
That's
sad.
dubious.
Sorry.
Yeah, all right. That's like a.
Yeah. Aw.
Oh man.
All right, and our final award. This is an exciting one again. Which TCG in 2024, a new TCG in 2024, is most anticipated? The most anticipated TCG of 2024, most excited for? Let's start with, let's start with Jason again. Let's throw it at Jason again for fun. Jason, what do you think?
That's fun. So this is tough because I'm really excited for Altered because it's something that's so new and different, and don't want to use the word revolutionary, but it really is, right? Like it's defining something that has yet to really occur in the way it has. But then again, I don't think I've had as much fun playing a card game I have in recent memory than demoing Star Wars at Gen Con. I was having so much fun to the point that everyone's like, what are you doing back over there? I'm like, I'm playing Star Wars again. So I would probably have to say Star Wars Unlimited. I'm really excited to have the gameplay that Flow the Game possesses. It really scratches a part of my brain that I really like, that tit for tat kind of style of gameplay. And it's something so different that I haven't experienced in a while that I can't wait for to have that in my hands and be playing again.
And also, you're the podcast host for Star Wars Unlimited here, so
that has to be the tiebreaker, right? Like, isn't that the tiebreaker?
That's the tiebreaker. Taylor, what do you most anticipate in 2024?
It's definitely Altered. I'm looking forward to Star Wars too. But Altered is it's promising so many really cool things. And so far, it looks like it's delivering on a lot of them. The demo decks have been a ton of fun to play. All those, despite only being like 30, 40 card demo decks or whatever, like you can see there's a lot of depth to each different faction, and there's a lot of design space in the game. The game itself is a ton of fun. It's a very different concept for trading card games than the normal kind of like fight your opponent and get them to 0 life. So there's just a lot of really cool, unique things that it's doing it. And also the art is amazing. I love the art. It's so like fun and whimsical, and just like it's a joy to look at. Just Altered is hitting so many boxes. It's got to be Altered.
And Jordan,
you've heard it once, you've heard it again. Altered TCG, baby. In all honesty, Star Wars Unlimited is right behind there. Before we went to that presentation on Altered, I was extremely delighted by Star Wars Unlimited. I started off my Star Wars Unlimited journey when Dan first told me it was coming, being completely uninterested, like so far uninterested. I literally just didn't even care. I was just like, oh, that's cool. I was happy for Dan because I know he likes Star Wars and he likes Star Wars TCG. So I was like, oh, that's cool, but I'm probably not going to play it at all or even look at it. And then he did the rules video, and I was like, yo, this sounds kind of cool. Maybe I'm in. And then when I demoed it, I was like, we're in. This is going to be the greatest takeaway from Gen Con. And then the next day, we walked into the Altered room, and it's Altered TCG all the way ever since then. The train has not stopped.
And of course, you're the podcast host for Altered too. So yeah, you had to.
I'm very thankful that Grand Archive released this year and not next year.
Yeah, for real. For me, this I have to be honest. This is probably the toughest choice I've had to make all day between Altered and Star Wars Unlimited, as to which I'm more excited about. I am honestly, and I say this to any developers watching, I am honestly extremely excited for both of them. I either one would entirely make my year. Yeah. Either one would. I would like it, but they're both releasing. So what I have to give it to is my own personal eternal love for Star Wars is simply too much to overcome for Altered. As much as I'm excited for Altered, the fact that a Star Wars TCG is being printed again, I have said this in the past. People can vouch for that. I've thought this in the past. As soon as a Star Wars TCG comes out, I was going to drop everything and go all in. I'm thankful to be in a position with Maindeck now where I don't have to drop everything and still go all into it. So So I am super ecstatic that Star Wars Unlimited is releasing. It is the thing I'm most anticipating. Every single spoiler that I see gets me more and more excited for the game. The gameplay's phenomenal. The developers have done an incredible job, and the thematics are incredible. Have you guys seen the Luke and Vader legendaries? Like, they are so cool, so thematic, and I can't wait to obtain these cards and start playing it. So I have to give it to Star Wars Unlimited. I'm super excited for both, but Star Wars Unlimited is just, it's Star Wars, man, and I love Star Wars. So our community, this is gonna be the fun part. Our community said number 3, Spellfire Remaster the Magic. So this is so weird. It's a weird choice, community. It's a weird choice, community. And Ash in particular, community leader Ash, is the one I have to thank for putting this on the list and getting, I don't know what kind of campaign he's running to get this voted for. Spellfire is the remake of an old TCG, one of the first TCGs ever, right alongside Magic, basically, that came out. Real clever guys make a game about magic, call it Spellfire. Spellfire is a remake of that. However, this version of Spellfire sort of released this year, actually. So it's hard for me. I'm not even positive if it counts, but we'll just say it does. Uses AI artwork and uses blockchain entirely. You own cards on the blockchain. If you own holographic cards, the NFT of those, you get tokens when people buy the playable versions of the cards in weird ways. There is, as you play, you level up, you get tokens. It's literally play to earn the tokens. So they have a digital client and physical cards. I've been trying to understand the breakdown between those two, but it's kind of weird. But the cards have QR codes, they're scannable, but they're to do AR stuff and the NFT stuff to see who owns them. You can track them that way. And then to level up your cards, you can actually buy with tokens, with the effectively cryptocurrency. You can buy power levels on the cards to it. It's literally a pay to win aspect baked into the game as well. It's a weird setup that I have a hard time defending because I do not support AI artwork. I do not support blockchain in card games and pay to earn in card games, because gaming is supposed to be fun and about gaming, and pay to earn games twist it in a way that I don't think is good. Some games are working on pay and earn, which is like a weird semantic difference. This appears to be pay to earn directly. So, I just don't support this prospect of having to pay to win and buy in so much just to be able to kind of play the game at a competitive level. It's a different way than how TCGs typically work. So I don't know. What do you guys think about Spellfire?
This is my kind of first experience or introduction to Spellfire, and I don't really understand how to grok it yet. It's the cryptocurrency aspect of it is very off-putting to just say the least, I guess. This is not something I would ever see myself getting into.
Jason?
Kind of cringe.
Jordan? Jordan says kind of cringe.
Yeah, no thank you. I'm good.
Yeah, interesting choice. I'm sure there will be people out there who are into the idea, but here at Maindeck, I don't support it. And I don't, if that won, I'm glad that we weren't picking it for the award. So I would have to go with the community, with the overall pick as community and hosts. But hey, community, nice job. You are excited for it. Good for you. We will not be having Spellfire content on Maindeck. And I'm kind of disappointed that the remake of a classic TCG is being done that way. It's weird. Number 2 is Star Wars Unlimited. Congratulations. Good job, guys. Good choice. Good choice. And number 1 is Altered TCG with the community vote, meaning that the community broke the tie between us in Star Wars Unlimited and Altered here. So Altered TCG, you are the winner of the most anticipated TCG in 2024 for our 2023 awards. Congratulations, Altered TCG. Let's go, Altered. After our weird kind of segue into NFTs and AI art. Yeah, sorry.
It's actually interesting that both of them are on there, because it's one way to do the digital physical that's good, and one way to do it that's not so good.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get the comments from the crypto bros who watch the video and comment away, guys. It's good for the algorithm. I'm happy to see it, and you won't hurt my feelings. I promise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is gonna do it for our award ceremony. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what your picks are. If you missed all the polling, let me know what your picks are for any of those categories. I'm happy to hear it, and please drop your crypto bro hate down in the comments. I'm happy to hear that as well. I'm excited to go for the award ceremony next year. It's going to be very wonderful, and I'm excited for Maindeck's growth next year. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching that.